It's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And what is last home game of the season? And I'm not sure if my mic is working. Just give me 2 seconds because I'm getting terrible. Oh, it is. Oh, for once, everything is working. But welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I'm here on my own at the minute because, Paddy won't be here. He's otherwise engaged. He might jump on later on. You guys will understand why then at that stage. But he's otherwise engaged at the moment. But so I'll be doing this on my own, I think, tonight. Unless Paddy does get a free 5-10 minutes. But look, it's Liverpool versus Aston Villa or Aston Villa versus Liverpool if you want to be pedantic about it. And it's last home game of the season. What a better time to go and to secure Champions League football. Because look, a lot of people are, us included, like last night was very much a kind of I was a bit trepidatious, if that is a word. I think that is a word. Last night, my normally chipper and overly optimistic self was kind of like beginning to get a bit of white line fever last night in the podcast. But I woke up this morning with feeling good. And I woke up thinking to myself that, a draw today, like, anything but a loss today for Aston Villa really ratchets up the pressure on Spurs. That means Spurs can't draw tomorrow. They have to win tomorrow if Villa draw today. If they get anything out of this game, Spurs absolutely have to win. And even at that, if Spurs win tomorrow, it's still not in their heads. As in, we would need to lose and lose. Yeah, sorry, we would need to lose the last day at Crystal Palace, which could very much happen. But still, the draw today is absolutely brilliant. Would be absolutely brilliant for Villa, and I think that would be 1 foot and 3 toes at least into the Champions League if that's the case. But it's not as easy as just calling for a draw and getting a draw, specifically when you've got the bare bones of a team that Aston Villa have at the minute. So, is there something going on? Is my voice really deep? What? It's my audio. There's some sound effect on it. I don't have any sound effects on it. Let me see.
Hello? Was I talking like as if I was in the witness protection there for the last 3.5 minutes? Ah, well. And there was me saying I was a bit chipper. I've no idea what the hell that was, because what was actually selected there was the censor button. That would be that button. The one I made last night for Paddy. So I've no idea where the Darth Vader voice came from. I can also do megaphone voices as well, just in case anybody wants any public service announcements. Yeah, but apologies about that. I've no idea where that came from. Anyway, let's get started again. Aston Villa versus Liverpool. Woke up this morning feeling a bit more chipper than I was last night. It was a bit mad. Like last night's podcast was very disjointed, and it was because I think both myself and Paddy were super excited about what's to come over the next week or so, and next 48 hours, I suppose, really as well. But also really, really worried about what's to come over the next 48 hours. And I suppose all will be kind of revealed in the next 5 minutes, because this team is very, very important. Like, we know this team sheet tantrum is not going to be very surprising, I don't think. But the big thing that we're going to want to see here is who's on the bench. I think, will we have a surprise inclusion on the bench? Looks like Alex Moreno is going to be out tonight. Looks like Nicolas Zaniolo is going to be out tonight. But will Youri Tielemans be there? Myself and Paddy spoke about it yesterday, about Tielemans probably being the ace in the hole, the ace in the pack. ace up Villa's sleeve if we can get him right for one of these last two games, because we are a small bit leggy and a small bit short in midfield. Sorry, I'm actually laughing at that now. Everyone's saying read my messages. Yeah. Keep this going, says Rachel Lewis, yeah, I've no idea where that came from, but I've got other sound effects here if you want as well. I can say wow, yeah, look at all these, got all these loaded up. Oh wait, no, not tempting fate with that one just yet, but yeah, got the soundboard lined up with a lot of stuff to go here. And as you see, there was some sound effects there, and I've no idea where they came from. Anyway, getting back to team sheet. This is what happens when Paddy's not here. The team sheet tantrum goes absolute shite. We should be called the team shite tantrum, the way things are going on tonight. But as I said, if you haven't noticed, I'm small bit giddy about this because, you know, even though the team are running on fumes, and even though we've only got probably about 13, 14 fit first team players, you know, Liverpool only have a Jurgen Klopp swan song to play for here. And I think, you know, realistically speaking, you know, they win, they can't get any higher than third. Yes, they're going to want to go out and beat us today, but they're really going to want to go and win the last day of the season against Wolves. And it's going to be interesting, should I say, to see what team he goes with tonight. What team does Jurgen Klopp go with tonight? Because that's going to be really interesting. So yeah, we're about 3 minutes away from that. Just looking through a lot of the comments there that you guys have put in there. So Tom Hanks is at the game. Yeah, I saw that. I also saw, so usually, and I've been forgetting to say it the last couple of weeks, usually after our team sheet tantrum, we throw everybody directly into Dale AVFC Statos watch along link. But for some reason, it hasn't been working the last couple of weeks. But Dale is actually at the game in the lower grounds today, and he sent a picture of himself and Stilian Petrov there, which is brilliant to see. You know, I think somebody, a lot of you guys in the comments probably have met him before, but I think that it's somebody that I would definitely like to meet, and somebody that we were actually trying to get on the podcast, or a podcast that's at some stage in the future to try and interview. I'm sure that man has a ton of stories. That he could tell about everything that he experienced, I suppose, at Villa, from his playing days to his diagnosis to his comeback attempt and so on. And somebody I definitely like to chat to. But Dale got to meet him tonight in the lower grounds, and it looks like the lower grounds is absolutely hopping. And you know what's stirred up an awful lot of excitement, I suppose, is the murals that have been painted on the side of the warehouse as well. They've come out. I think they look great. You know, there's been a lot of branding in and around Birmingham City Centre as well. That's something that we've never seen from the club. Like you get off of BHX and you have no idea that Aston Villa are even an entity, never mind the biggest club in the West Midlands. And that's nonsense, because you go to any airport, you go to any airport, even in the States, and you get off at an airport in the States, and their sports teams are front and center right in your face, because they want tourists to come and go to the games, the people who come there. And it should be no different. When a Villa fan flies over to Birmingham, they should be there out in front and center. We're light years ahead of our neighbours across the road, and we should be there, and we should be trying to court those. Maybe, and it's not going to be a lot, because, like, let's face it, Birmingham isn't a massive tourist destination, but it should be something that we should be able to court, and a small bit of branding like that will go an awful long way. We have a team out, so give me one moment there. While I'm actually, no, John, I'm going to use my soundboard for your news time. Yeah, couldn't time it up, but here we go, and we have Mr. Tielemans is back. He's back in business, everybody. Martinez, Konza, Diego Carlos, Pau Torres, and Dina, Bailey, Tielemans, Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, Diaby and Watkins, with a bench of Olsen, Chambers, Clement Longley, Zaniolo makes the bench, John Duran makes the bench, Ken Kessler-Hayden is there, Eric Bruno, Munro, and Kellyman. That bench gives me a lot of heart for tonight, and that man in that photograph gives me a lot of heart tonight. I'm not pinning all my hopes and dreams. There's been times when I bitched and moaned about Yuri Tielemans and maybe not being able to play that 6 role. He's not going to be playing that 6 role today. I think he's going to be right up with with Watkins today, or closer to Watkins, or maybe he does play that 6 role and McGinn goes out wide right or wide left again, like we've seen previously. But I'm happy to see him in there. We need a couple of more horses to be able to get through this run, and that's a really, really nice addition. As is Zaniolo, and yeah, I'm a bit more chipper about that now that I've seen the team. We have subs that we can bring on, and we have, as I say, we've got a new face that's come back in after injury in there. That's really uplifting, specifically this game, last home game of the season. I know a ton of the Irish lines that have gone over to this. I'm just so disappointed I couldn't go over. I very nearly was going over on Thursday afternoon, but it wasn't to be. So yeah, I'm in a lot better form after seeing that. I really am in a lot better form after seeing that as well. So I'm going to pop that down there, guys. I'll share it up in a moment. I am just going to pop up the Liverpool team as well there, and then we'll bring back up the Limerick team. Jesus, the Aston Villa team there in 2 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. Comment away there, guys. Are you happy to see it? Nice to see Zaniolo back. Spicy Pricey says he's absolutely buzzing. Yuri back is amazing, says Melty Shirts. Oh yeah, Zodthur says Cash is gone. I didn't even notice he wasn't on the bench. That's a really interesting one. There was no conversation about Cash being injured or anything like that. I think that's a really interesting one. I hope questions are asked about that to see what the story is. Liverpool have look at this crack. Look at that crack. Van Dijk on a motorbike. That's what I call it. That's my what's your masterpiece? Hang it in the Louvre. It's Van Dijk on a motorbike. You've heard of Elf on the Shelf. Now you've got Van Dijk on a motorbike. But their team tonight is Alisson in goals. Gomez, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold and Kwanzaa are the back four. McAllister, Harvey Elliott and Endo, as I predicted, will be in the middle of midfield, and Salah, Gakpo, and Diaz. Yeah, to me, it's the team I would have expected to be playing out there today. It's mad. Well, I don't think it's mad. Sorry, mad is the wrong word, but it's to me, it's a great boost. Like Kwanzaa is in there at centre half. Very good defender. Will be a really good defender. I just think that I prefer Konate as a defender to him. So when Konate is on the bench and Kwanzaa is in there, I'm okay with that. Darwin Núñez is on the bench. Curtis Jones is on the bench. Tsimikas is on the bench. Gravenberch, Bajcetic is on the bench. Conor Bradley is on the bench. Szoboszlai on the bench as well for them. So they have a formidable bench, should I say, to call upon. But look, that starting 11 there is the starting 11 that I would have expected to come out in this game. So let me know what you guys think about that as well. I'm going to stop sharing there, and I'm just going to talk a little bit here as well about, I suppose, the permutations of how our team could set up today. Like Diaby's is still in this team, and I've got a bit I want to say about him, because I like. So when he gets turned and he's able to get in full flow with the ball and he's running with the ball, I really, really like him. I really like him, and I like when he gets in and around the box, and I'm not too pissed off the fact he doesn't shoot. I say it an awful lot on Twitter because for me it's a running gag, but I'm not too pissed off the fact he doesn't shoot. I would like if he did more, but it doesn't bother me too much. What I get really annoyed by, and it was the same thing that really annoyed me about Emi Buendia last year, was receiving the ball with his back to goal. He's less than useless, and that's not me being overly critical. As I say, it's just doesn't suit. It doesn't suit his body frame. He just doesn't have the body frame to be able to do it. He's 5'6", and he's probably about, I'd say, if he's 10 stone soaking wet with all his clothes on, he's not a big guy. So if you've got a Kwanzaa, let's say, or you've got a Joe Gomez that's pulled in and come into the center, or you've got even one of those two guys, I'm going to say, because the Liverpool midfielders aren't exactly Hulks either. But you've got one of those guys there. Like, by the laws of physics and geometry, they're going to be able to get their longer limbs out and around him and knock that ball away. Or they're going to be able to exert enough physical pressure without fouling him just to be able to get the ball off him. It ain't rocket science. Now, is that a negative from the Premier League? I don't think it is. There's been lots of players that have been slight. There's lots of players that have been small. And look, the best footballer in the world is Lionel Messi. Now, I'm not saying that Moussa Diaby is Lionel Messi, but what I'm saying here is that when I look at that team that's out there today, I would much prefer if Moussa Diaby was on a wing and told to just hug it Danny Welbeck style versus Aston Villa, because that's all Danny Welbeck ever did when he hasn't played centre forward. He just hugged that touchline against Aston Villa and didn't move and created that outlet ball. Now, with Leon Bailey being in the team, it's difficult to have two people hug the sideline. And Bailey's just better at it at the moment. He's in a massive rich vein of form. I think he's going to be a problem for Liverpool tonight. So what do we do with Diaby is my next question. And I don't know. So for me, he's the big player that I think we need to take a look at tonight. We need to be really, really, and I think Unai Emery needs to be really conscious of the fact that, if he comes up against the Joe Gomez, or even a Trent Alexander-Arnold, they're not shrinking violets or shirking violets. Even if he gets into the middle of midfield and Trent follows him in there, as Trent is known to do, follow him into that 6 role, it's still going to be an issue for Diaby. So I'm really interested to see how Unai Emery plays him tonight, because Liverpool are adept at really kind of closing down that space in front of their back two, in the two centre halves, while also being really, really industrious up the field. And we need that outlet ball. And I'm just not sure that Diaby is going to be able to do it. I know a lot of people, as I say, I haven't got to the comments yet. I know a lot of people will have differing opinions and said that Diaby's, like I've seen in the comments here, Diaby's one of the worst signings we've ever had for Aston Villa. Diaby is going to come good like Bailey did. We don't know whether either of those two statements are true. So I'm just talking about him in exactly how I feel in this game. And that's what we always try to do. Well, that's what I always try to do anyway, when we're discussing this. So I'm going to be really interested to see where he is. He had a brilliant month of March. Let's not forget, brilliant. Was it March or April? He had a brilliant month where he looked to be back to his best. He was brilliant against Bournemouth when I was over there as well. Won the ball back in the edge of his area. That's something that he started to do more, is come deeper and just kind of snipe players on the edge of our box, because they probably don't expect him to be there. And he's done that well, but obviously, it's not a core feature of his game. He did it against Bournemouth, and he did it against somebody else recently when we scored, because we got a goal directly off it, and I can't remember who it was. But so he's a player we're going to need to see something of tonight, and because he's starting, and to be honest with you, I hope it's not up alongside Watkins. I hope it's on the left and Tielemans or McGinn is pushed up alongside Watkins, because we've just played better when we've had McGinn next to Watkins or Tielemans next to Watkins this season. So I'm going to have a little check to see what you guys think there on that. A lot of people happy that Yuri Tielemans is back. How are we going here? Sorry there, guys. Where are we going? Brown Rob says, outside of Salah, I'm not scared. I think they're still a really good team, but Salah is, could Salah be on a swan song as well? From Liverpool. Hasn't been his best season, but he just likes to score goals against Villa as well. Paul Miller says Watkins stayed 20 tonight. Draw could be enough for us. Draw absolutely is. I think would be absolutely brilliant. Would be really good for us tonight. I think it would be enough for us tonight. And I think that's definitely something that Unai Emery will have in the back of his mind. Do not lose this game tonight. And we know we've not been the best ever at doing that, at closing out 1-0 wins so far in the back end of the season. But let's hope that we have the front end of the season, Aston Villa, come out of the blocks today. Where are we there? Boom, 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 boom. People, everybody seems to be in agreement that Watkins to get the goal tonight would be absolutely brilliant. I think it would be absolutely brilliant too. To get that 20 goals, I think it would be a great personal milestone for him. And if it's to help us qualify for the Champions League, well then, folklore initiated for that man. Gary Edmonds says we've been looking like a spent force in recent games. Hopefully Tielemans back gives us a lift on Monday night. Under the lights should be a cracking atmosphere, so come on, you Lions. You guys probably know the Villa Talks podcast and Omar that used to be on Villa View with myself and Dan and Ty before and Dolan. Omar put up a screenshot of the only game that Arsenal have lost in God knows how long, and it was against Aston Villa. And I remember I actually can't remember the date now, but at the time I looked at the date and I scrolled back and I was looking to see in the mentions at the time, and everybody was saying we looked like a spent force. Then we looked tired. It was a case of keeping the goal difference to a minimum, the goal difference damage to a minimum, and stuff like that. Now, as I've said before, football is not linear, but it's that Arsenal team were absolutely rocking, absolutely like peak performance, and Villa came out and somehow did a number on them. And I'm just holding on to that glimmer, that tiny little needle in a haystack, that I'm holding on to that tonight could be another one of those days. It may not. I'm not expecting it to be one of those days. I'm not saying I'll be sitting here slamming the table, being pissed off if it isn't one of those days. But what I want to see is, I'm like you, Gary. I do think we've been looking leggy, and I don't think it takes a sports scientist to understand that or to be able to see that from watching the games. But what I do want is, I want to see Villa compete tonight. I want to see the subs having an impact coming off the bench, and I want to see a team that's gone out in the last game of the season at home with all the new branding that's gone on around, all the new things all the new shiny toys we're going to look at over the course of the summer, with new jerseys, new sponsors, and all that stuff, new players. But most of all, I want them to go out and grab that brass ring, because as I've said before, and I said it before the Brighton game, and I'm going to say it again, there's a lot of these players here. If they don't get Champions League football this year, they may never get Champions League football. They may never play Champions League football. And a lot of these players have done their apprenticeship. Ollie Watkins is this word. 6 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, was it 7 years ago? He was at Exeter. I think it was 6 years ago he was at Exeter. John McGinn, 6 years ago he was at Hibs. 7 years ago, maybe he was at Hibs. That's so. It's not a whole lifetime ago that these guys were playing in what I would say vastly, and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant or negative or anything like that about the teams, but like, Exeter aren't going to be in the Premier League anytime soon, and if Hibs came down to play in the Premier League, they're finishing last. So those players were in teams in with a lesser degree of opponent, a lesser degree of difficulty within their leagues, and they've elevated their game since they've come into this league, and now they have an opportunity to get to the Champions League. And potentially those guys would probably been thinking before, hey, John McGinn was probably thinking, I gotta go play for Celtic to get in the Champions League. Ollie Watkins was thinking, I don't know, will anybody sign me above championship level, maybe, when he was at Exeter. Now, he obviously probably believed he could play there, but you have to have somebody that's willing to take you to the dance. You can't just decide, I want to play in the Premier League in the morning. You have to have somebody who's willing to take you to the dance and buy you. And because of their performances, and this is what I'm getting at, because of their performances and because of how they've worked their way up through their apprenticeships, they now have this opportunity to grab the brass ring of playing in the Champions League. And that does silly things to people. It can make people perform worse, as arguably you could say we've done in the last two games. We had an opportunity to get to a European final, didn't pan out. Players didn't meet the moment. We had an opportunity to beat Brighton, to get to Champions League, didn't pan out. Players didn't meet the moment. Maybe third time lucky does that silly thing to players that makes everybody play at 120% in front of our fans, under lights at Villa Park. So, as I say, it's not an expectation from, like, I'm not saying if that doesn't happen, like, I want a good performance from the team. Don't get me wrong. Myself and Paddy said we almost feel that we're half owed a good defensive performance because we've had some poor defensive performances this year, and we've got our first choice defense out there today. Yeah, we do. I would say we've got our first choice defense out there today. So, as regards the first 11 we have, I don't think we've any excuses, albeit that they are tired and a load of them have played over 4,000 minutes. But, in a one-off game, a one-off tie, a one-off, want to call it cup football, we should be able to go out there and we should be able to hit as hard as we get hit. Now, we may not be able to stay standing as long as Liverpool, but if we can hit as hard as we get hit at the start of the game, maybe one of ours lands a bit harder than theirs, and we go 1-0 up, or we go 2-0 up, or something like we did against Arsenal, or maybe we can withstand it until half time, and then we maybe having conserved energy, soaked up a bit of pressure, maybe then we're allowed, we find it in us to unleash ourselves for the first 10, 15 minutes of the second half. And instead of conceding a goal then, like we've done an awful lot this year, maybe we could go in and score a goal during that period of time. That would be really nice too. So I know I'm talking very fanciful. I know I'm talking very idyllic here with regards to potentials and stuff like that. But if you don't know me by now, after doing this for coming up on, well, it's nigh on 5 years, I ain't going to change. I don't think at this late stage of my fanship. So I'm very, very, very excited about this game today. Start popping your scores into the chat room there, guys, and we're going to put a bow on this one in a moment. And as you're doing this, I will go back and look at some of your comments. Bertie says, need Dougie to get back to his 2023 form. Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with that. He's like 2023 was prime Dougie. He was absolutely brilliant. Where are we? Darren O says, I think I will have the lads ready for this and turn it on after the last few results. I bloody hope so. He did seem like a fellow who was not going to do too much training with the team or anything after Athens and Thursday. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Be interesting to see. Bertie again says as well that McGinn was heartbroken with the defeat on Thursday. He so wanted to lift the trophy. Yeah, I felt that too. I felt he was a small bit crestfallen. But, you know, it doesn't bother me about him being a bit crestfallen from the point of view of what we have tonight, because I think he's kind of a guy, you know, he's a hard worker. He's a well-grounded person. I think he's obviously coming from a family of professional footballers. His two brothers being professional footballers. He knows about the school of hard knocks, having to dust himself down and get back on with things again. So I've no fear that as a captain, he'll be able to raise his level of play again today and hopefully able to raise the people around him as well. Where are we here? Yeah, Dara, I am ignoring you for the night that's in it. I'm sorry, but I am. For anyone, Dara's one of my good mates in the comments. So just got to ignore him just because I got the power tonight. Just because I got the power. Where else are we? Right. I think I'm going to go down and do your scores because, as I say, a lot of the comments are people having conversations with themselves and I'm getting caught up in them, trying to figure out who's talking about what there. So got to get back to your scores there. See Lion starting off with a 2-2. KK says, I hated but Liverpool 3-1. 2-1 Villa says Tom. 2-1 Villa says Brendan Miller. 2-0 Liverpool. 2-1 Villa. 2-1 Villa says Junior. 2-1 Villa says Mad Villain. 2-1 says Nigel Franklin as well. 2-0 says Peter Tandy. 3-1 says Skylar. 2-1 says Dan Downey. 1-all says Amy. Oscar says 2-1. Kavanagh says 2-1. 1-all says John. 1-all says Giggs Sharma. 2-1 says Rod Humble. With Duran getting a goal in the 90th minute. Oh, I could see Twitter blowing up if that was the case. Linda Peterson says 3-2. 3-1 says Cadu Williams. Flange says Desmond 2-2. David Dwyer was saying 2-2 as well. 1-all says Adam. Spicy Pricey says 3-1. Nick Francis says 2-1 as well. Dara saying 5-1 to Liverpool. The Big Matthew 182 is saying 3-0 to Villa. Watkins getting at least one. Ujin Singh says 2-1. Barry Newman is asking, is my Limerick jersey signed? It is. It's a player worn Gerard Hegarty player issue jersey, and it's signed. It says to Neil, best wishes, Gerard Hegarty, and it's my pride and joy, along with the signed Limerick team one that's over here as well. So thanks for asking, Barry. It is. It is signed. Patrick Hopkinson says 3-all draw. Robert Fromm says 2-1 Villa. Bertie says 1-0. Brown Rob says 2-1 Villa. 2-1 Villa again from Aaron Cunningham. 2-1 says Andrew Monroe. 2-0 says Michael Huggins. Barry Newman says 2-2. Bob Tomlinson says 2-0. Come back from 2-0 down, should I say, to win 3-2. Oh, Jesus, poor old Paddy will have a coronary if that happens, in a good way. Hart says Champions League tonight. Head says 3-1 Liverpool. Derek Whelan says 3-2. Paul Miller is saying 2-2. Greg O'Connor is saying 3-1 to the pool. Carson White saying 2-2. 7-2 says John Morgan. And Anna Grady goes in with 7-2 as well. 4-0 Villa. 3-0 Villa says Jack. 7-2 says Mike. Says Michael. 1-1 says Andy. Where else are we? John Steele says 2-2. Music Junkie saying 9-0. John Love Spain is saying 2-1 Villa. James McFall going for 7-2 again. Scott Little going for 1-1. Where are we? Nicole is going with 3-2 to Villa. And Flange, we'll give you the last saying. It's saying 7-2 to Villa again. I'm going to say this is going to be one of the best 1-1 draws that Aston Villa are ever going to eke out in their history. And I think while it will still be squeaky bum time going into tomorrow, it keeps us in with a huge say and the last day of the season, meaning that we go to Selhurst Park and just not lose, and we will likely get a Champions League place. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw for Aston Villa. 1-1 draw for Aston Villa and Liverpool today. That's just me being tempering my expectation. I'm as giddy as a March hare waiting for this game, and it kicks off in 38 minutes time. So I'm going to leave you guys to it. Thank you so much to everybody for watching and for listening again. Sorry about the old where are we? Let's see what else we have.
Sorry about the old Barry White at the start there. Things got us more a bit
out of control.
I've got a monster's voice as well.
If you want cool toys and tricks that I've loaded up onto the soundboard. Sorry for that this morning or earlier on, should I say, but bit of crack if nothing else. Gonna leave you guys to it. We'll be back with a post-match podcast, and hopefully I won't be sounding so down as I was at the start of this game. Hopefully I'll be a lot more chipper. Hopefully I'll be speaking a small bit like this later on in the podcast, because I'll be so excited after getting Champions League football. But it's all to be written over 90 minutes starting at 8 o'clock at Villa Park tonight. Get yourself in front of the TV if that's where you're watching it. Get yourself a pint if you're in the pub, and if you're in the ground, get yourself shouting as loud as you possibly can, and pick me up one of those flags as well if you can, because they look pretty cool. That's going to be a nice little display tonight. So going to leave you all go with that. See you again here directly after the final whistle for a post-match podcast. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.